Greetings, greetings, greetings. What's going on, y'all? What's going on? What the deal is? What the deal is? We about to go in. All right, give me a second here. Let me just get myself together. I wonder if I could go hold on for a second. Let me just turn this notification off real quick. And we're about to get into that. Let me get my other phone. How's everybody doing? What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good, lineage? What's good? What's good? All right. Um, I'm gonna tune in on my other phone. Make sure I have audio. All right, cool. We got audio. We got audio. We got audio. We got audio. What the deal is, Halito? Greetings, greetings, greetings. All right, so we're about to get into a little something right now. I'm gonna get right to the point. Okay, we're gonna talk about the Mormons on race and ethnicity, and why the Mormons they have the largest database of everyone's ancestry. All right, so we're gonna get into that right now. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Give me a second, please. Give me a second. All right, cool. All right. So here we go. Let me share my screen and get right into this lesson without wasting any time. If you guys want, you could go ahead and share the live. We could do that. All right. It's important to know these things, man, because a lot of people are confused with what's going on. Because if you do your genealogy, right, you'll realize that your genealogy ties you into the Americas, but yet still, when you do DNA test, it tells you you're 75, 85% African. I wonder why is that? Well, we're about to talk. We're about to talk about that today. All right, that's what we're about to talk about. Let me go ahead and share my screen real quick. Hold on for a second. So I'm just gonna give a little bit of history on the Mormons. Who they are, where they came from. All right, and of course, this is strictly for educational purposes. Let me share this. Boom. Here we go. All right, cool. So, like I said, we're gonna get right into it. Okay, right into it. Without further ado, and as I promised, my YouTube peoples, I'll come back, and I won't stay away that long. All right, so I'm just, keeping my promise, man. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna continue to drop that information. All right. So here we go. I want to bring that up just a little bit more. Let me see something. It's a little too small. I want to see at least you guys could maybe at least be able to see that. All right, let me slide this over. Hold on for a second. All right, so here we go. I think that should work. All right, cool. Beautiful. All right, so here we go. Mormon race and ethnicity. Okay. We're not gonna do a series, you feel me? So because I'm just gonna talk about this one time since you're gonna have the video to reference. There's no need in making it a series, right? So a structured lesson on the Mormon origins, their race, construction, genealogy and infrastructure, DNA limitations, and the erasure of original indigenous identity. Now, a lot of you, for those of you that, you've been following me for a while on YouTube or Facebook, whatever the case is, you know that I always break down the word indigenous. Most times, when I see people on lives or even in a post and they talk about indigenous people, I always let them know, my brothers and sisters, indigenous, it has two meaning. Anybody could be indigenous, and people always get emotional. They want to come at me, and I'm like, no, I'm not your enemy. I'm just here to teach. So this is what it is. The United Nations, when they gave the world UNDRIP, for those of you who don't know, or some of those of you who know, right? UNDRIP means United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. So they gave that to the world for all indigenous people. However, the UN did not specify who they were referring to. Okay. So they left it up to the individual as per the right to self-identify, who determines what indigenous means. So when I tell people, I always hear people talk about in videos, Native Americans are not indigenous. I'm like, what is y'all talking about? Native Americans are indigenous. In fact, Donald Trump is indigenous. Joe Biden is indigenous. Anyone who's born on American soil is indigenous. That's facts, based on the etymology of the word. This is the breakdown. Okay. When you look at the etymology of the word indigenous, it means born or originating. That's why whenever I use the word indigenous, I put original in front of indigenous. So it differentiates between a native born and someone who's original. All right. And once I go through the lesson to conclude, I will go into the etymology of the word indigenous to kind of summarize everything. Okay? So let's rock. Part one, European origin of the Mormons. Oh man, I need to. Okay, let me just see if I can slide that over some more. Hold on for a second. Just a little more. Here we go. That should work. The people known today as Mormons, originated from Europe, descended Protestant. All right, they are Protestant families whose ancestors migrated primarily from England and the surrounding regions into New England during the 1600s. These families were not indigenous Americans. I want to make that very clear. The Mormons originated from Europe, particularly from England and surrounding regions. And they came into what was deemed or coined New England. Because remember, when the colonizers came into the Americas, they had to make everything new. You feel me? Everything new meant new identity, new everything. Okay? So let me bring that down just a little bit. Hold on for a second. Trying to see. All right, this is not working. All right, I guess let me see if I could do it this way instead. Drop it down just a little. Just a little. Hold on for a second. All right, hold on for a second. Just bring it up just a little. I don't know, for whatever reason, my laptop is bugging, man. Like, for real. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on, but here we go. Okay? So, Mormons came into the Americas in the 1600s. Joseph Smith, that's their leader. I'm not sure if you heard of Joseph Smith, but Joseph Smith is, and he was the leader of, the founder of the Mormons. All right. So he was born in Vermont, New York. I think Vermont is Vermont in New York. I'm not sure, but he was born in Vermont, right? In 1805, descended from English Puritan settlers. Brigham Young, born in Vermont in 1801, also descended from English and Anglo-Scottish families. Most early Mormon leaders and converts came from the New England and the New York areas dominated by European settlers. Well, why am I going into all of this? Isn't it interesting that the Mormons seem to have the largest database of everybody's ancestry worldwide? I wonder how they pull that off. Can someone please tell me how they pull that off? Or maybe I might just tell you, right? But this is what we're going to get into right now. So when our people take DNA tests, now I'm just pausing here for a second, right? When our people take DNA tests and it puts you in Africa and you think that you are truly African, in my opinion, now that's my opinion now, that's a form of genocide. You dig? Because every individual who looked like us, the DNA specifically says you came from Africa. You feel me? That's very interesting to me. Very, very, very interesting. Because if history and historical records clearly spoke of the Negro de Terra, the Negroes of the land, so-called black people of the land, that means there has always been people that are considered Negroes in the Americas. And like I said before, America is a Negro continent. So why is that every time individuals who look like us take a DNA test, it puts us in Africa? That's a legitimate question now. Okay, so let us read. Joseph Smith, and we also have Brigham Young, they were born in Vermont and the New England area and New York, all right, predominantly descended from European settlers. Mormonism was formally founded in 1830 in New York during the Second Great Awakening, a period of intense Protestant revivalations, all right, or whatever that word is. But the point is, Mormonism wasn't a thing that came from Europe. It's not a religion that came from Europe. It was born in the Americas in 1830. And what happened was around that time, they had a great awakening. And they had a lot of different spiritual groups, religious groups just popping up. All right. And Mormonism was one of them. Revivalism. That's the word. Revivalism. Protestant revivalism. Okay. And what we have to know is this: all the religious wars that took place on our ancestral land, they started in Europe. They started in Europe. Literally, I'm talking about clans they are actually related. A lot of them are related. The same thing that's happening in the government today. These people are of the same stock. So when they tell you about the left wing, right wing, my brothers and sisters, that's the same bird. It's the same bird. And they came with one motive, and that's to discover and replace. Discover and replace. Make everything new, including the people. So we're going to put everything in place so that we're able to displace these people and convince them that their roots is from another continent. Now, am I saying that the Mormons are responsible for that? That's not what I'm saying. But the Mormons played a part, and that's what we're going to be talking about. All right, the same people that come to you every Wednesday, Thursday, they walk through our communities, our neighborhoods, whatever the case is, and they invite you to church to talk about Jesus. Come worship with us on Sunday. We want to teach you about Jesus. But they will not teach you that there was a company that was called Jesus, a Jesus company. And I promise you, it wasn't the company or the Jesus company that was taking you to heaven. I guarantee you that. But they will not talk about that, right? All right, let's proceed. So we know that Mormonism was officially, or it was founded in 1830 in New York during the Second Awakening, all right? Mormon migration and conflict. The Mormon movement migrated in stages: New York, Ohio, Missouri, Illinois, Nebraska, and Utah. All right? Now, I got to give these people some respect. Like I always tell people this, right? I'm not going to hate the player. You got to respect the game because they did what they had to do. These people came from Europe, religious persecutions, right? They came into the Americas in the late 1600s. You feel me? And look at what these people have accomplished. Look at where they're at today. But yet still, we, the original people, see where we are at today. So tell me there was not some foul play in play. Because I'm not going to totally blame our people for the situation that we're in. However, I blame us for not realizing the situation and coming together and doing what we got to do. At some point, we got to take some form of responsibility. We have to. We cannot just always pass the buck and play victim. We can't do that. All right? But I'm giving you the information so you could see exactly what transpired. Because it was all part of the art of war. We are at war, my people. You did. And that's a fact. So once again, each stage involved escalating conflict. That was the Mormons' history. And they will not tell you that in their history. They will not tell you that in the churches, what they did to indigenous people. They will not tell you that. But I promise you, they will tell you about Jesus, and they want to take you to that heaven that's promised in the book. But before they gave you the heaven, they made sure they gave our people hell first. You feel me? They made sure that they gave our people hell first and then promised them heaven when they got in position. So that's my thing is, you could keep your heaven. I don't want to go to your heaven. I don't want to go to your heaven. You could keep that. All right? So each stage that involved escalating conflicts. In Missouri, tensions led to 1838 Mormon War. Why the Mormons don't talk about that? They'll tell you about Jesus, but they will not tell you about the wars they fought. In Illinois, political power and religious practices led to the unaliving of John Smith, the original founder. Why is that? Do we know the history of these people that hold our fate in their hands when it comes to this DNA and all these different testing sites? These are the people that we're looking to solidify our roots. Somebody let it make sense. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Welcome to the bill, Chieftain Ness. Let it make sense. Why are we putting our fate, our ancestral fate, our roots in the hands of people that came into our land to, whether they say it's, Protestants or as settlers? Man, listen, man, the bottom line is they came to discover and replace facts. So we had the Mormon War in 1838. Then in Illinois, power and religion all came together, political power, because that's what the wars were about in Europe. It was about political power, which led to religious division. So you had all these different factions of division fighting, of religions fighting each other. That's what it was about. And they brought their beef into the Americas, man. So when these people, they keep telling you, well, we came as settlers and we came as Protestants. No, y'all was dumped into the Americas. They ain't come as no damn Protestants and settlers. No, tell the damn truth. Y'all came here and y'all was brought here and y'all was dumped into the Americas as prisoners of war, vagabonds, criminals. That is the truth. And you came here as slaves. That's a fact. No, I'm not here to hate nobody. That's not what this is about. You feel me? This is about telling the truth for a change, man. Let these people speak the truth. Because the first slaves in the Americas were Caucasian people. Why they're not talking about that? Why aren't they talking about that? Those were the first slaves in the Americas. And because they couldn't stand the heat, they couldn't deal with the terrain. Okay, they wasn't cutting it. And what they will not tell you is that a lot of our ancestors made a pact and they got into commerce with these slave traders. Why? What do you think the Treaty of Peace and Friendship was with the Moors? All that was part of the trading. Not because America was Morocco or El Morocco. No. It was commerce. So when the Moors lost their reign in Spain from 711 to 1492, and they lost their reign to Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand. They gave them options, some of them. Okay, um, what's her name? Queen Isabella's daughter. She adopted some of them. Okay, especially the children, and converted them to Christianity. And the ones who did not want to convert, in fact, some of them were even unaliving themselves and their children so they wouldn't become Christians. That's well documented facts. And some of them were sent back to North Africa. Some of them stayed in Spain as servants, but a lot of them was taken into the Americas. So when you hear about slavery coming from Africa, no, let's put that in context. The continent of Africa only became known as Africa as a collective, those collective countries in the 15th, I think in the 16th century, in the 15th and the 1600s. Before that, that place wasn't called Africa. You dig? Because the name Africa was only allocated to Tunisia, only that section on that entire landmass, which some people say, was called Akabulan, right? But going all the way back to 450 BC, it was called Libya. So it's had a few different names. That's neither here nor there, though. The point I'm making is when they talk about people coming from Africa, they was not talking about the entire continent. They were talking about really selected few areas, particularly North Africa. In Tunisia, those were the Africans, the Afro and the Afri people. And these people did not come here as slaves in the bottom of a slave ship, like we were told in the movie Roots and Amistad and all these different movies. Now, stop playing, man. They did not. These people came here on contracts, servitude contracts. And their leaders, their political leaders, whether you want to call them kings or chiefs, whatever the case is, guess what? They knew exactly where their people was going because they got paid. They got paid. And these people came here on contracts as servants. However, the colonial powers in the Americas, after the 7-year contracts was up, they reneged. Because the business was booming on those plantations. So the deal was, if you come in as a servant, after 7 years, we'll send you back to your wives and your children, with money, and you'll get paid. Or we'll give you a plot of land. And then you could invite your family once your servitude is over. But because business was booming, the slave, they were not slave masters then. They were bosses, they were employers, because these people, once again, they were hired servants because their leaders knew exactly where they were going and they had contracts for that. And don't let nobody fool you. There's well-documented information as to every single one that has come into the Americas since 1492. It's well-documented. So don't give me the movie Roots and pretend like the people that came here, they cannot trace their lineage because they came in the bottom of a ship. No, that is false information. That information is false. And that's the narrative that we were given. So you convince the Negros de Terra, the Negroes of the land, that they came from Africa. That's why they give you the story or the fairy tale that the people in Brazil, and it's a fact, Brazil has the largest population of people who look like us. You feel me? Outside of Africa in terms of complexion. So they had to start the paper genocide in Brazil. You feel me? That's why they tell you, well, 12.5 million slaves came in, and let's first put Brazil and Haiti and all these places where they was already populated with people that look like us. So they had to start with that. You see, once again, discover and make new. Discover, make new. So they started with Negro de Terra. What does Negro means? What does Terra means? Negro de Terra means essentially, it means the blacks of the land. So if there were people that you call black, and they were the majority in the land and on the land. Why are you telling us that everybody came from Africa? So if that alone in itself is not arousing questions in our people's minds, so that you could just go with the narrative that everybody came from Africa on a slave ship, then guess what? The joke's on you. Because they fooled you once and you're allowing them to fool you twice, the third time, the fourth time, the fifth time, and over again through repetition. That's how you brainwash people. You tell them the same story over and over again until it becomes their reality, to the point where the lie becomes the truth. And then the same people that you're lying to, they're defending that lie. No, and I've shown videos and I've given documentation, but yet still people are still convinced that they came from Africa on slave ships. And that's the sad part about it, because all these people are actually on it. They know exactly what took place. They know what happened. And when I say these people, I'm not talking about the ones that were brainwashed. I'm talking about the ones that's in so-called power. Okay? So I just have to give you a little bit of history on all of that. You feel me? Because when you say Africa, Africa meant an enslavable in a certain era. You feel me? It is only today Africa means the continent. Back then, it never meant the continent. It meant enslavable. So let me break it down to you. Paper genocide. This is how it started. These people was on the land. These people never called themselves anything. Okay? Then these people came, encroached on the land. So therefore, our people, they started becoming aware of their surroundings and started identifying themselves. You feel me? So we are talking about tribal names. The truth of the matter is, the further back you go, we didn't call ourselves anything. It's like going to a horse in the wild and asking a horse, do you know you're a horse? Are you a horse? Are you a lion? Are you a cow? Come on, I mean, let's be real. Look in nature, right? Go ask a lion if it's a lion. Go ask an elephant if it's an elephant. Go ask a snake if it's a snake. Who named these animals? They told us it was Adam. That's not the point. The point I'm making is, when you're in nature, you don't have to call yourself anything because you are one with nature. The only time you have to start claiming your own things, okay, making it personal, is when you feel threatened. Then now it becomes mine. It becomes possession. And that's why they will tell you the Indians didn't possess anything. We was walking on gold. We was walking on copper. We never said we owned them things. We didn't even see value in that at some point. You feel me? So the point I'm making is, when these people came into the Americas and they saw these people that looked like us, that was the first part of the paper genocide. You did. Because they gave us something that we know we could relate to. Reason being is because the Indians, we have always been on Indian land. Why? Because in 450 BC, when you look at the world on the Herodotus map, you have Libya, you have Europe, and you have Asia. But when you zoom into Asia, what do you see? Everything within a certain demographic in Asia, it says Indians. There was no such thing as, India of what we know it today. No. Not even Hindustan was on that map. Not even Bharat was on that map, which is the ancient names for these places. It wasn't called India. But at that time, they thought that that was literally the whole world. And it's not that they didn't know of the Americas. They knew of the Americas, but they didn't know the vast extension of America. So therefore, in 450 BC, America was considered to be part of Asia based on their understanding. That's why you'll see maps with America being called India Major, okay, or India Superior, because of all the high civilization we had. They thought it was just another part of Asia with with that high civilization. That's why you'll see the map say major, okay, and superior, India superior. Why is that? Because they thought America wasn't in there. So when Christopher Columbus was traveling, it's not that he thought he was in Asia. You feel me? At that time, America was considered to be in Asia. So he knew he was in Asia. You feel me? It was only when he came in, he realized, whoa, man, this is a whole lot bigger than we thought. These people here remind us of the Canarians. Well, hold up. The Canary Islands is in Africa. And I know that they don't look like the natives. So if the people, when they came in the 1400s, looked like the Canarians, and even Varazona said that these people look like the Ethiopians in complexion, how the hell are you going to tell me Native Americans are the original people? Let it make sense. So they came with a purpose to rob, steal, and kill. The same thing the Bible said. Kill, steal, and destroy. That's why most people think the Bible is about a man in a sky daddy trying to take you to heaven. No. The Bible is a history book that told you exactly what these people did to indigenous people, and especially what they did in America to the indigenous people. Point blank. So they give you a little bit of spirituality in there. Well, let's go back to the beginning, and God created the world and this and that. So they give you some of that. But once it got to Genesis chapter 2, that was all about one bloodline. About one bloodline encountering other indigenous people and what they did to those people. Facts over feelings. But anyway, let's proceed. All right? So we're going to go back to the lesson now, or the PDF. Each stage, we're talking about the Mormons. For those of you that are just coming in right now, we're talking about the Mormons and the role that they played. Each stage involved escalating conflicts. So everywhere the Mormon they went, right? There was conflict. Because they came with a plan. They came with a purpose. If I came from Europe, you feel me? And I'm facing religious persecution. And I'm being ruled and governed by people that don't look like me. You see, most people don't know that. All through the 1500s, the 1600s, the 1700s, it wasn't until 1839, somewhere around there, that they had their first pale-skinned monarch. You feel me? And that was Queen Victoria. Before that, everybody was melanated in power. So think about it. You're coming from a place where people who don't look like you, they're enslaving your people. They're treating y'all bad. They're doing the same thing that we're supposedly going through right now. You feel me? And you got a chance to get away from that. And you was dumped into, as a matter of fact, more Caucasians were more of the lower class in Europe than so-called dark-skinned people. Facts over feelings. The highest slave commodity was the pale-skinned woman. She was the highest prized. And all that slavery was being done, through the barbarians or the Berber slave trades. So when they got a chance, we get to escape this. We get to go get another job. They're making you think that they came into the Americas as pilgrims and they took a boat and they sailed and they was happy. No, they was dumped here. They were dumped in the Americas. Well, let me say America because there's only one America. They were dumped in America. So think about that mentality. You're coming from Europe. Your leaders, your kings, the court, the royal court. These people are heavy melanated people. And the reason why I'm saying heavy melanated because everybody got melanin. all right, but they look like us. And you get a chance to get away from that. Why? What do you think the American Revolutionary War was about? It was about these people fighting so that they will no longer be ruled under a black nobility. So when you were dumped into the Americas, you ain't got nothing to lose. You are going to fight. And that's what happened to the Mormons. The Mormons literally walked. They walked from New York to Ohio, from Ohio to Missouri, from Missouri to Illinois, from Nebraska to Utah, people. That's why I keep telling you, our people, it seems like our people haven't gone through enough for us to know we got to stand up and fight for something. You dig? That's why a lot of our people have to continue to go through the suffrage until they get to the point where they can't take it no more. You see, it seems like we could still take more of the abuse from the system. That's why we're in the position we're in today. But these people had nothing to lose. Their goal was in their mind, man, it's do or die. Because we ain't going back to London. We ain't going back to Europe. No, we ain't doing that. This is home. This is home. We're going to make this our home by every means and any means necessary. So if we have to walk from New York to Ohio, let's assemble and let's do that. That's our Trail of Tears. You feel me? If we have to walk from Ohio to Missouri, we are going to do that. If we have to walk from Missouri to Illinois, we're going to do that. If we have to walk from Illinois to Nebraska, we're going to do that and end up in Utah. And when they got to Utah, they was like, yes, that's it. That's where we need to be. You see, that comes from determination. That comes from when you ain't got nothing to lose, my people. You don't have a choice but make it. And I want us to get to that point because apparently we are not at that point yet. Because we are here still playing the games. Fighting each other. Thinking life is sweet. Thinking that the corporation is our friend. Nah, man. So the universe got to force things on us until we get to the point where they was at. You feel me? So I'm not mad at the players. My thing is we need to learn the game. We need to learn the game and play the game that everybody's playing. You feel me? And when I say play the game that they are playing, in other words, come together and work together, because for whatever reason, every ethnic group, even if they don't get along individually, they come together as a collective to accomplish things for the whole. We are the only ethnic group that only think about the individual and don't focus on coming together as a collective for the greater good of our people. Now, I'm not saying that's everybody's mindset. So please, I'm not gonna make a general statement, because there are literally, we have some of us that's really that's pushing for the collective to come together, at least those who want to, so we could start making some moves. So I can't put everybody in that category, right? So I'm not doing that. I have to be very careful with the words. So once again, each stage involved escalating conflicts. In Missouri, let's not even forget, they experienced that in Ohio too as well, because they got pushed out of Ohio, ended up in Missouri. Conflicts ended up happening. The Mormon War, all right, fighting with indigenous people, our people. Got to Illinois. They want power. They want political power. Let me ask my indigenous brothers and sisters, where's our political power? And that's why I keep telling my people, man, I know what to do. I know how to restore my people. I'm going to keep saying that. You feel me? And religious practices led to the death of their leader, Joseph Smith. Under Brigham Young, all right, Brigham Young was the next one in charge. The group migrated they went to Illinois, had some issues there as well. Went to Nebraska, had some issues there as well. When they got into Utah, they was like, yes, that's where we need to be. We're going to settle in this indigenous land. All right. So here are some of the major conflicts that took place, okay, with our ancestors. The Battle of Creek Massacre in 1849. Why the Mormons don't talk about that? Why the Church of Latter-day Saints don't talk about that? Hmm? But now they'll tell you about Jesus, but they will not tell you how many of our ancestors they killed. And once again, this is only for educational purposes. Go look it up yourself. Don't believe anything I say. But if I ask you to believe me, I'm lying to you. Go look it up. Then we have the Walker War, 1853 to 1854. We have the Mountain Meadows Massacre. I mean, listen to the words. Battle of Creek Massacre. Do you think massacre is taking? It took our American Indian ancestors to heaven? Do you think it took them to heaven? No, it didn't. At least not in the way you think. Look at the one in 1857, the Mountain Meadows Massacre. Interesting words for a war, isn't it? For people who want to take you, come to church on Sunday. Let us teach you about Jesus. Those are the same people they're talking about. Then you have the Utah Black Hawk War, 1865 to 1872. Once again, we have the Circleville Massacre, another massacre in 1866. Everybody went to our ancestors with massacres and war, and we're out here playing games, smiling and grinning, fighting each other like it's a game. Dancing for massa, gritting our teeth for massa. But now, when they came with a purpose. Replace, discover, and replace. If we have to kill people, we're going to do that. But we're going to make sure we're going to make a name for ourselves. You feel me? Greetings, greetings, greetings. Welcome to the Bill, Azazi. You dig? No, I'm not saying that. Once again, let me just make this very clear. I'm not saying that we should go out there and promote violence and advocate violence. I'm not saying that. You feel me? But the point I'm making is I'm showing you when these people came with a purpose in their mind. It doesn't matter what it is. Whomever come in our way, we are going to go to war with them. And if it ends up in massacre, we are going to do what we have to do. That was their mentality. Okay? All right, cool. Let's proceed. The same people that after they did what they did, now they want to take you to heaven. Now they want to tell you about Jesus. How come they were not telling our people about Jesus when they was killing them? I'm just asking questions, man. All right, so let's go into the limitations of the DNA test. Okay? Because our people just trust a DNA system that just tells you you're 75%, you're 85% African. Because that's what the DNA test says. All right. Limitations of DNA. DNA tests do not measure time. That's number one. And that's a fact. DNA test does not measure time. It does not measure nationality. It does not measure tribal identity. They compare DNA to modern reference populations. That's all it does. I'm going to repeat that. A DNA test, it does not measure time. So if a DNA test does not measure time, how the hell are you going to tell me my ancestors came from Africa? I'm going to ask this question again. If a DNA test, okay, cannot measure time, how are you going to tell me that my ancestors came from Africa? Logical question. It does not tell you nationality. It does not tell you tribal identity. What it will do is it will compare your DNA to modern references and tell you and give you a comparison and say, well, hey, based on that, this is what you are. Okay? All right, cool. Let us proceed. So here's the thing. They don't have American Indian DNA in their database. I'm talking about the original people, our people. They don't have that in their database. Okay? So with that being said, how can you definitively tell our people that they're African? How can you do that when our people are American Indians? There's a reason why it comes up as African people. There's a reason for that. So because the DNA, it does not have, once again, a full detailed database or reference panel to American Indians, DNA that does not closely match also the modern European databases is often defaulted to West Africa. And that's done by design. Because even the Black Europeans who actually originated in Europeans, their DNA comes up as they're from Africa as well. But yet still, DNA cannot tell you time. So think about what I just said. Don't you realize that this was done intentionally? This is part of the game. High percentages labeled as African do not indicate recent African ancestry. They indicate similarity to available modern databases, not true historical origin. That's what they're not telling our people. So when our people do this test, you come up as 85% African, and then they break it down 65% Nigerian, 12% Bantu, 3% Ghanaian, and these Native Americans know exactly what it is. That's why they always tell us, go take DNA tests. You know why? Because they were conditioned. They were put in boarding schools to run that script on our people. They all have the same script. You are Black, you're African, do a DNA test. Now, whenever you bring up genealogy, they tell you your grandmother is crazy. She don't know what she's talking about. Our oral history is always crazy when it comes to our history. But when it comes to them, oh, no, oral history is beautiful. I'm not sure if I'm the only one who has noticed that, because I pay attention. When these Native Americans come on the scene, it's three things. You're Black, you're African, take a DNA test. You're deliberately watching people with brown skin, because when the colonizers came, they said they seen brown people. Native Americans are not brown people. They are beige and pink people. They are not brown. Native American, they lack the copper that we have in our skin. You feel me? American Indians have the most copper in their skin in any ethnic group on earth as a collective. Let that sink in. You feel me? So open up your minds, people. Open up your minds, okay? These Native Americans were taught and they were given a script. And they are actually on code because they speak the same language, which is tell them they're Black, and Black denotes to be an African, and then tell them take a DNA test because we have everything in place. Don't worry about it. We got you. We'll make sure that that DNA put them in Africa. Okay? All right, cool. Let us rock. Genealogy database and racial structure. The LDS Church, which are the Mormons, they created the world's largest genealogy infrastructure, including family search, while the church did not create the racial classification. Nah, they didn't do that. You feel me? I can't be biased. They were not the ones who created the racial classification. That was done by the government, all right? What it did was it digitized and standardized the colonial and federal records that already erased indigenous, what they call Black identity. Okay? So after our identity was replaced. That is what was put into the database after the genocide was done. The government, the federal government made a deal with them. Now I would like you to digitize, okay? Put it on film, standardize the colonial records and the federal records. But those records were already altered, my people. Okay? They were already altered. They were already changed. That's why the pen is mightier than the sword. So now it's not paper genocide, it's digital genocide. Because they erased our identity, and then what they did was, once again, they digitized the corrupted records. You feel me? It was all part of the game. All part of the game. Section 4.1. The LSD role, the Church of Latter-day Saints role in genealogy infrastructure. The LSD, Church of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons, all right? The church microfilmed the census records, slave schedules, dolls rolls, birth certificates, birth records, and land records. They have all of that. These records often reclassify original indigenous people as Negro or colored and today Black. Do you see what we have been through? Can you imagine what we have been through? And the blueprint to start all of this started in the Caribbean. That's where the paper genocide started. And what they did was they mastered the art of paper genocide and genocide on a whole. They mastered that in the Caribbean, and then they shared the secrets with the British and told them exactly what to do. So by the time they got into the United States, oh, they was masters at the game. But we were the guinea pigs, so to speak. We were the testing ground. Okay? By preserving these records without correcting the underlying classification, genealogy databases unintentionally reinforce racial erasure. Now, I say unintentionally because I still want to maintain a certain level of unbias. And what I mean by that is I don't want to make it seem like, all of them knew what was going on. I don't want to make it a general thing. But regardless, whether it was intentional or unintentional, it erased and reinforced the erasure of our identity. So for all intensive purposes, I still have to make my disclaimer. Okay? But either way, it misclassified our people because of the genocide that was done on paper and now film. And it became, and of course, digital, right? That's film as well. All right? Paper genocide and racial reclassification. Paper genocide occurred through censuses and the reclassification. The doors rose, like I said, the Racial Integrity Act of 1924. Walter Plecker was one of the major and the main culprits, all right? He was one of the main culprits in that, right? The action of the registrars like Walter Plecker. Original indigenous Americans were systematically reclassified from Indian to colored, Negro or Black, and literally severing legal ties to the land, tribe, and ancestry. That was the goal. Like I said, when the colonizers came, the goal was this. They put it in the Bible: to kill, steal, and destroy. Kill, steal, and destroy. Kill, steal, and destroy. That's it. I'm not making it up. That was the goal. And the moment our people took up the identity that was placed on us, guess what? The further and further and further away it put us, away from our blood right, our land. So when I tell people there's no such thing as a Black American, people get mad. They get mad. Well, I guess I know why you're saying that because you're from the islands. You're not American. That is the most dumbest and stupid. I mean, that's the most stupidest thing I ever heard people talk about. Let it make sense. Christopher Columbus never came into the United States. However, when he came into the Americas or into America, he came to the Caribbean and he called the people American Indians, right? And then when he came, he said he was in America. Well, hold up. If these people were Americans and they were American Indians in 1492, they're not Americans in 2025. Let it make sense. So I'm showing you the game that was played on our people as a collective, divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. And like I said on a live yesterday, all right, I think it was right here on YouTube. How can we as a people make a conscious decision and decide which genocide was worse than the next when we was the one it was tested on? Don't you know at the beginning of everything, that's where all the mistakes are made. That's where it's most crucial. Don't you know that? So because nobody's telling the stories that what happened before they got into the United States. Nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about that Holocaust. Nobody's talking about that. That's why I don't separate our people. We cannot separate the pain of our ancestors and put it in a category and say, well, one was worse than the next. Because if we really have to compare notes for notes, I promise you, you're going to have a change of mind. So instead of, individualizing the experience of what our people went through, why don't we say, man, listen, we all went through this. Don't you think we are stronger together? That would be the approach that I would take. But anyway, paper genocide and racial reclassification. We spoke about Walter Plecker. We know what happened with the Racial Integrity Act, right? We know what happened. Original indigenous, Americans were systematically reclassified from Indian to colored, then Negro and Black. But people are fighting to be Black. Don't you realize when you call yourself Black, it means that you are actually African? And not just African, you only belong to a racial group in Africa that's not tied to any land or people, but yet still you're fighting to be that? How disrespectful is that? Why do you think when the police pull our people over, the experience is different? Not because of the color of your skin. I hear people talk about, well, it's because you're Black or because we're Black. No. What part of your complexion is Black? It's because your status is Black. And therefore, within the legal system, they say that you are assumed innocent until proven guilty. That's not true. Your status makes you guilty before you're proven innocent. It's the reverse with our people. It's only let me tell y'all something, man. The only time that you're innocent until proven guilty is when your status is white. Okay? Or you are American Indian. Period. Everything else, you are guilty until proven innocent. That's why it says you were born in sin. Sin is a debt. You call yourself Black, you are a debtor. You are a slave. That's what they're telling you. So therefore, it's always assumed that you are guilty before you are proven innocent. In a true system of law, not a legal system, but in a true system of law, where you are guilty until proven innocent, or you're innocent until proven guilty, let me explain that to you. If you're innocent until proven guilty, this is what is supposed to happen. When the police officer detains you, they're not supposed to take your fingerprints. Okay? They're not supposed to take your fingerprints. That is just a form of detainment. You're being detained because there's an ongoing investigation. All right? Now, if we deem that you might be a credible suspect, the one who committed the crime, then we got to take you to see a judge immediately. Immediately. Not take you to central booking. No, central booking is something that became the middleman to take your fingerprint. Okay? You're supposed to go see a judge immediately. No central booking. Take you straight to see a judge. And let the judge hear the case, the allegations, the charges that were, in fact, not even a charge. You cannot charge me for something if I haven't been found guilty yet. Why are you charging me? It's an allegation. Peace and love. It's an allegation, my people. Why are you being charged before you see the judge? Do you comprehend legalese? That's what's going on. You are not supposed to be fingerprinted before you're found guilty. So once you get detained, take you straight to see the judge. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of what? In the court of law, not in the precinct. In the court of law, not in the precinct. Can I repeat that again? For those in the back. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law, not in the precinct. No, my people. It's in the court of law. You feel me? So once you get detained and you're now taking me to see the judge, then the judge hears the case. And if you're found guilty, only then you are supposed to be fingerprinted. That is a true lawful system of innocent until proven guilty. But the way that they got it now, you're guilty until proven innocent, because as soon as you detain me, you put me in handcuffs, you take me to the prison, you fingerprint me, I sit there for a couple of days or so, whatever, then you want to take me to see a judge. No. That is, you see, that's a backward system. We are the only ones who could fix this. They are not going to fix it. It works perfectly because it's a business. If the business is working just fine, why would I adjust the business for my slaves? Because they want to be black. They choose to be slaves. But when Kanye said it, y'all got mad. But guess what? I was saying it way before Kanye. Nobody's forcing you to be black. They suggested it. And they put James Brown on the scene to make a public announcement, a public declaration. And everybody acquiesced to it. Oh, yes, let's be proud to be dead in law. Let's be proud. Black is, let me tell y'all something, man. Black is not a color, people. And white is not a color. White and black means the same thing. Go look up the etymology of the word black. It means pale. Let me tell you something. The pale people are the black people because they were the first black people. You dig? Black and white are not colors. One reflects, one absorbs. It's really that simple. So let's look at it from a scientific perspective. If white reflects all light on the visible light spectrum, right? And then black absorbs all light, all visible light on the light spectrum, how can black be a color? I'll wait. Somebody let it make sense to me. Because you see me, I like to break things down. Because I think that asking questions is very, very important. It's very important. Because when you ask questions, you come as king. I'm always going to say that. Ask king. Remember, how do you spell asking? Spell it for me, please. A-S-K-I-N-G. Now break up the word into two compound words. What does it say? As king. So when you ask questions, you're coming as king. When you go to court, the prosecutor is the king. Why? Because the prosecutor is the one asking the questions. But when I go to court, in fact, when I go before the court, you feel me? In the building, the venue, guess what? I go as king because I'm asking questions because I make it my court. Because the venue and the building is not the court. It's the people's court. So court don't start until the people get there. So how when you go to the building, we are saying we are going to court, and you are not realizing that you are the court. You're supposed to make the court yours. So once they do their, they serve you, and they let you know that you got to come you got to come to the building. This is what you do. You're supposed to go open up your own court and serve them. So when you go now, it becomes your court. Stop being a defendant. Be a plaintiff. But anyway, that's a whole different story. Let's proceed. The point I'm making is this. Why are we fighting? Well, not me. I'm not black. Why are my people fighting to be black? And when you tell them the truth, they say, well, you're not one of us. You're right. I'm not black. But I'm American, though. I'm just not a black American because that don't exist. And stop calling the United States America. United States is a continent. Pardon me, America is a continent. United States is a corporation that was built on the continent. So all I'm just doing is teaching you what it is. Not to attack you, not to make you feel like you don't exist. No, that's not what it is. I'm teaching you that information so that you don't end up getting in the same situation you're always getting into. Okay? And that's what we have to realize. When the police pull us over, the first thing is assumption. You feel me? But guess what? If you go into the venue and there's court, guess what? Anytime a prosecutor or an accuser, they assume things. Everything is based on assumption. Guess what? Man, motion to dismiss. Your Honor, the prosecutor is making assumptions. Where are the facts? An assumption is not a fact. So when the police pull you over, they assume that your status is black, not that your skin is black. They're not blind. They know colors. They know your skin is brown, but they assume your status is black. So they treat you a certain way. But you see, when you correct that misclassification and they pull up your name and it comes up that you are not black, it's a whole different situation. I promise you that I know what I'm talking about. So nobody could tell me. I hear people talk about, well, you really think when the police pull you over, it makes a difference? They see black? No, they assume black, but they don't see black. There's a difference. They see brown-skinned people. But when that name go in the computer, it's a whole different situation because they know they're not dealing with a black man or a black woman. You dig? So I'm only giving you the information. If you want to continue to be that, man, listen, I can't force you to be anything else that you don't want to be. You have a right to self-identify. You feel me? All right, cool. Let's proceed. So let's give up this black status, my people. This Black History Month, we need to abolish that. Period. And that's why I tell people I'm the black identity slayer. You feel me? Because that curse right there, we got to let it go. We got to let it go. So I had to take some time on that. All right. Now, black Europeans, the reason why I call them black Europeans is because they came here with this evil intention. Okay. After we helped you out, because Europe was struggling. Europe went through a transition of the Black Plague, devastated Europe. Over 200 million people got unalived, killed in the Black Plague, including Africa, Asia, and Europe. All right. I'm talking about famine, devastated the people. And you came to us for help, and we helped you, and you turn around, and that's what you did. So yes, they are black, not black in complexion, but that's exactly what black means. Black came from the word swat, and it came from the word sordid, and it means dirty, filthy, shabby. I mean, the most derogatory expression or frequency is the word black. And that's facts. Go look it up. Okay? Black Europeans, Moors, and original indigenous people existed before and after 1492. Okay, because it was Black Europeans that came here in 1492. Colonial racial systems merged these populations into one category as Negro, erasing distinct identities and histories. So they just categorize everybody, call everybody Negroes. And then Negro became Black. And Black literally means you are from Africa, but from a racial designation of racial groups in Africa. No original land, no original people. Basically, you are stateless. And that's what you're fighting for? Nah, man, we got to do better, man. We got to do better. Mormon, hold on for a second. Mormon and racial doctrine, the Nephites and the Lamanites, and skin color. The Book of Mormon frames the people of the Americas through two primarily ancestral groups. The Nephites, portrayed as a righteous and white fear, okay, and the Lamanites portrayed as a rebellious and marked by dark black skin. That's in the Book of Mormon. Go look it up yourself. So early LSD leaders, Mormon, Church of Latter-day Saints, the leaders, they taught that the indigenous people of the Americas were descended from the Lamanites. Direct quotation and historically in the LSD teaching. Okay? 2 Nephi 5:21. And I quote, wherefore, as they were white and exceedingly fair and delightsome, that they might not be enticing unto my people, the Lord God caused a skin of blackness to come upon them. Alma 3. And I quote, the skin of the Lamanites were dark, according to a mark which was set upon their fathers, which was a curse upon them because of their transgression. 3 Nephi 2:15. And their curse was taken from them, and their skin became white, like unto the Nephites. Right? So, for many centuries, the Church of Latter-day Saints, their leaders identify American Indians as Lamanites, embedding a theology that equated to dark skin with divine punishment and framed conversion as whitening or redemption. So the goal is, let me just ask a few questions again. If the Mormons, the people with the largest ancestry database, their founders told you that the American Indians were Lamanites and they had black skin, so to speak, who are these Native Americans then? Who are these Native Americans? I mean, it doesn't matter from what perspective we look at it. We know that these Native Americans are not the original people. And we could prove that in so many different ways. So many different ways. Next, this doctrine, okay, it aligned with U.S. racial ideology and collapsing device of the indigenous nation and people and other dark-skinned peoples into a single racialized category, facilitating reclassification. That's how we lost our sovereignty, people, through reclassification. All right? So we got to know what happened to our people, man. And when we bring the information to our people, we're bringing the information so that you are able to correct yourself, correct the wrongs that was done to us. Don't facilitate it. Don't fight to be something that you are not. And then some will say, well, I know my skin isn't black, but it's a racial ethnic identity. Do you know what it means? Do you know what it means? Because I've shown you what the federal government said, okay? And for the purpose of this lesson, I know I've shown this before, but I'm going to show it again one more time for the purpose of this lesson. So let me pull that up for y'all real quick, okay? because I'm not the one saying this. This is the federal government telling you who black people are. And some may say, well, I don't care what the federal government say. Well, really? Okay. So if you don't care what they say, why are you waiting for reparations? Hmm? Because they're telling you this is what it is. So let us go to, hold on for a second, right here. This is what the federal government is saying. And this is not about being personal. This is about keeping it 100, man. This is what the federal government is saying in their own census record. So it does matter because that's what they're telling you. You are a stateless people. So let's read. In the census record, this is what the federal government is saying. Here we go. Black or African American, individuals with origin in any of the black racial groups of Africa. It's really that simple. They're telling you that's where your origin is from. And you are not tied to any particular people or original land, but every other ethnic group in that category except Latino, okay, and Latino and what is it? Hispanic. They're not tied to any original people or land too either. So black and African American and Latino and Hispanic, they are not tied to any original people or land based on the United States federal government. American Indians, they are tied to original people. Okay? Right here. Asians, they are tied to original people. Black or African American, they are not tied to any original people, just a black racial group in Africa. And they give examples. African American, Jamaican, Haitian, Nigerian, Ethiopian, and Somali. So based, according to the United States, they're telling you, you are the same as the Somalis. You are the same as the Haitians, same as Jamaicans. I don't care what you say with your emotions. I'm telling you what the corporation said. Go debate that with them. I'm telling you that for your own good. People who call themselves black and African American, they are stateless in the system. When you look at Hispanic, same situation. They are not tied to an original people or an original land. All they're telling you is it includes individuals of Mexico, Puerto Rico, Salvador, Salvadorian, Cuban, Dominican, Guatemalan, and other Central or South American or Spanish culture or origin. They're only talking about culture or origin, right? Now check this out. Let's go to American Indian. What does it say here? American Indian. They're tied to original people of North, Central, and South America. You see, Central and South America is there, right? Because those people are an organic people. They are tied to an original people. Let's go back to Hispanic. Although they mention Central and South America, but they're only talking about with a culture, not origin of the people or the land. See what I'm talking about? When we go to Middle East, right? Middle Eastern or North African, guess what? Tied to an original people. When we go to Native Hawaiian, tied to an original people. When we go to white, tied to an original people. How is that? It doesn't say that about black or African American or Hispanic or Latino. Like somebody, let it make sense. Explain that to me, please. I'll wait. Now, I'm not asking according to your personal opinion. I'm asking you according to the corporation that's running everything. Because to them, what you say don't matter. It's what they tell you are, as far as they're concerned. If you call yourself that, then they're telling you that's what it is. That's why I tell you there's no such thing as a black American. There's no such thing as black indigenous people in America. The moment you attach black to it, it denotes that you are from or you have your origins in a black racial group in Africa, not tied to a country or a land. Facts over feelings, man. All right. Let us go into Right here, we're gonna go into the etymology of indigenous. Etymology of indigenous. All right, let me pull that up. Here we go. And then I'm gonna conclude. And my brothers and sisters, I know this might sound a little bit harsh, all right? Sometimes you just can't censor the truth. You can't. You just got to tell it like it is. Because people are always asking for the real, but a lot of people cannot handle the real. That's the sad part about it. You did. So this is not an attack. This is literally an awakening, an eye-opening. I know it's tough. I know it's hard. 50 years of calling ourselves black. I get it. It was done intentionally. Okay? Because in 1967 was a jubilee. The original people was supposed to be restored. But now, let's put James Brown on the scene to cast a spell. Call them black, let them be proud. Went into a coma for 50 years until 2016, 2017, when the trumpet sounded, when Donald Trump came into office. Like I said, I told people about it. I got receipts to prove it. Then the Obama nation came in with hope. And then in 2025 again, another jubilee. It ends on January 6th of 2026. Like I told y'all before, watch what's going to happen. Watch what's going to happen. Because the Pope is going to close those doors. And a lot of souls are going to get trapped. And a lot of souls are going to be, they're going to be in misery. They're going to be in torment. Watch. And that's why I keep talking, man. I keep teaching. I keep pushing. Can you imagine if everybody had taken me serious in 2017, where we would have been right now? Here I am doing it again in 2025. And the next Jubilee is not until 2033. So 2025, 2026, 2026, 2033 is about another, 7 years. Think about what I'm saying. 2026 and 7 is what? 2033. 6 and 7 is 33. Do you think that 7 is a coincidence? Do you think it's a coincidence? Because servitude is every 7 years? Man, listen, all I could do is break this down, man. All I could do is break it down. That's all I could do. Break it down. But anyway, let's go into the etymology of the word indigenous. So when I tell people anybody could be indigenous, I'm not making it up. Go look it up yourself. Indigenous means born or originating, my brothers and sisters, in a particular place. So yes, Native Americans are indigenous. Stop spewing that nonsense. Okay? If Africans come into America, or if they come into the United States, guess what? And they are born here, they are indigenous. Donald Trump is indigenous. Biden is indigenous. Obama is indigenous. But they are not original indigenous. You see the difference? That's why you have to be specific. One is born and one is originating. Or one is born and originating and one is just born. Because we are born and originating. So we are indigenous in every sense of the word. But I like to be specific because once you say originating, it encompasses born as well. You feel me? So I don't have to say born and originating. I don't have to say that. You feel me? But when you just use indigenous by itself, it doesn't mean both. It said born or. You get it? Read with understanding. So I suggest, whenever you call yourself indigenous, please, it would behoove you to say original indigenous and not just indigenous. Don't leave anything for error, for assumption. Because when you say you indigenous, I'm going to assume that you are native because you are just born. But when you say original indigenous, man, that's powerful because now there's no doubt. There's no room for assumptions. See the difference? All right, cool. So with that being said, like I told y'all before, we as a people, the only way we could affect change is as the collective. We are here fighting individual battles and we are not focused on the war. While every other ethnic group, it doesn't matter if they don't get along individually, but guess what? They know when it's time to come together for the collective, they put all their differences aside. Do you think all Jews get along? Do you think all Somalis get along? Do you think all Mexicans get along? Do you think all Italians get along? Do you think all Irish or the Scottish or any other ethnic group? Do you think they all get along? No, they don't. But here's when they get along. When they know it's about the collective, they all get along. They put their differences aside. Why can't we do that? Hmm? Don't you realize that it's the collective that's going to make the change? Not the individuals. Yes, individuals could play their part in making the change. But imagine one man going up against, or one woman going up against, this July system, the people who own the system. When they own, you see what I'm saying? When they own the Marines, they own the courts, they own the police, they own the Air Force, they own the Navy. Hmm? Do you think one man or one woman could make that happen? Or one tribe? No, people, we got to come together as the collective. You did. My brothers and sisters, man, we got work to do. And like I said before, the republic is already established. It is already established. Everything is in place. Go back to all my videos. What have I been saying from day one? I know how to restore our people. And my message has never changed. Never. I know what to do. I know how to do it. But I'm going to continue to teach. I'm going to continue to reach until you figure enough is enough and you just cannot take more abuse. Because right now it seems like people still have a threshold. Okay? They have a threshold that they could take some more of this abuse. That they could sustain it. You dig? Because they haven't gotten to the point where they say enough is enough. I'm always asking, why do we have to be always reactive? Why can't we be proactive? Why wait for things to happen to us when everybody else is making moves? We always want to wait to see what everybody else does and see how it affects us. Why do we always have to wait and be affected when we could be proactive and be the change? That's going to affect everybody else instead of having everybody else affect us. Now Salima said, I stopped, pardon me. I stopped, let me read that real quick. I stopped studying religion after learning with you when I realized what we thought was religion or religious text was really law books. We just don't understand legalese. Gratitude. Oh, you're absolutely welcome. It's an honor. You feel me? And for me, I still study religion because the reason being is because our people are still heavily indoctrinated, right? So you have to be able to know how to articulate even the book and break it down to them. It doesn't mean that everybody's going to get it, but there's some people who are actually truly seeking. For example, I'm gonna give you an example, right? I went to what you call it, damn, what's the name of that? Not Staples, the other one, Office Depot, to print out the new declaration, right? And the cover letter. And a lady, of course, I always, wherever I go, I have some form of, indigenous, something, so I got my feathers and everything. And you know what I mean? So she said, "Hey, you're American Indian." I say, "It's a sister now." She and her daughter, right? I said, "Yeah." She said, "What tribe?" I said, I'm Carib and Anionwea, which is actually the original name that replaced Cherokee. She said, "Wow, my grandmother told me I'm Cherokee too." So I said, "Hey, that's what's up, lineage, you know what I mean?" Then she jumped into religion. "Oh, just by the way, just so you know, brother, yes, I'm Cherokee too, but I want you to know I belong to Jesus." I say, sis, let's not go there, please. Okay? Let's not go there, please. I don't want to go in. I don't want to take it there in religion. Then she started talking about the Bible God. I say, sis, we're indigenous. We have that in common. Can we just please leave it there? Because as you could see, I'm showing her the declaration. This is what I'm about to do right now, to go file into the courts. You know what I'm saying? To put my race and ethnicity on record, get it recorded. She didn't want to leave it alone. She wanted to keep pushing and pushing and pushing until I'm like, sis, your God is not my God, sis. She's like, "What you mean? Isn't there one God?" I said, "No. Even in your Bible, there's more than one." Well, I say, let's go to Isaiah 45:7. Because the God that you serve is an evil God. She said, "No, no, 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 no." I said, "All right, cool. Let me pull it up." I pulled it up on my phone. And she's reading. She's reading everything except the evil part. She wants to skip over it. Well, God said, "I created the light and the dark and the good." But he said he just created the light and the dark. No, I said, "Sis, read right here." She refused to read that it says in her own Bible that God said he created evil. So I'm asking you, sis, is your God good all the time, and all the time your God is good? She said, yes. So how he created evil? Can an evil person create evil? Can a good person all the time create evil? She said, "Well, I'll be praying for you." I say, "Sis, don't do me a favor, please. Let me ask you another question. Would you like a lion to pray on you or for you?" She said, "No." I said, "Well, with all due respect, don't pray for me and don't pray on me. You see, from the very beginning, I told you we had something in common. We're indigenous. Let's leave it alone." But she kept pushing. She kept pushing. And I had to leave it on that note. Then when she was getting ready to leave, I said, "You know what? I do wish you an amazing continuation." She said, "Have a blessed day." I said, "Sis, no, I'm okay. I'm not blessed." She just couldn't get it. And another sister was in the back. I wasn't even talking to her. She was no part of the conversation. As soon as they left, she came up and said, "Oh my God, I'm American Indian too. I totally agree with what you're saying. Can I get some information?" You feel me? Now, what's the moral of the story? The sister who initiated the conversation and her daughter, the message was not for her. It was for the lady in the back, minding her business, but listening at the same time. She came up to me and gave me her number. I got her number. Her name is, I think is Tyra or something like that. She said, "Chief, I want some information." You feel me? So it's just, it shows you the state of mind that our people are in. And the moral of the story is this: don't stop teaching. Never give up on our people. Let your voice be heard. Teach, be disciples to our people, because the one that you think you are directing the message to may not be the one that's seeking, may not be the ones that's searching, but it might be a bystander. You feel me? That's why you never look down on people. You feel me? Because it might be the one that you're looking down upon is the one that was seeking, and that's going to become a powerful messenger of the people and of service to the people. And all through the conversation, I was being polite, using the Bible. You feel me? But they left, and I doubt they even did anything else with the information. But it was a sister in the back, minding her business, not paying attention. I wasn't even looking at that other sister. She was the one that come and said, "You know what? I'm American Indian too. So exactly what are you doing?" I explained to her about the declaration, and she said, "Man, I would like to do that." And she asked, "Well, I know I'm American Indian. So if I do all of that, what are the benefits?" I said, I'm glad you asked that question, because most of what people think, as soon as you file a declaration or you say you're American Indian, all of a sudden we get all the benefits. No, it doesn't work that way. You feel me? Because the federal government is in charge. They decide who is Indian or not. So they are still going to give us a hard time. This is just my way of putting my ethnicity and race on record, on public record. I'm putting a glitch in the system. But we are working towards the benefits we are supposed to get. That's due to us. But we have to start somewhere, and that's a start. And she smiled and said, "You know what? You are absolutely correct. Here's my number." And I'm so respectful. I heard she had mentioned something about a boyfriend in the conversation. When I text her, I make sure I put in that conversation, in that text, okay? This is only for educational information. If you would like me to also share it with your boyfriend, I wouldn't mind doing that as well. I didn't have to do that, but I know why I did that. Because I wanted to make sure that I avoid a potential situation if she still has that boyfriend and her. Because a lot of times these things could be misconstrued, especially with people that don't think rationally. Because I'm not saying he would, but the boyfriend might see the text and see it's about American Indian, and then all of a sudden take it all the way left. So I wanted to make sure that I acknowledge that, because she didn't say whether they were still together or not. But the point is, I wanted to protect her from that potential situation. Because I'm always thinking ahead. You did? All right, cool. So now, Salima said, "I remember you taught us from the Library of Congress. That was about 7 years ago." Oh, no doubt, definitely, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt. Been doing this for a while. I just found out that I have Barbados roots. What is the name of the indigenous tribes of Barbados? Mostly Arawak. They'll say Taino, Carib, but they're the same people. It's like saying Bloods and Crips are different people, but they're the same people, just different names. You feel me? So the colonizers really made these people think that they're different people, but they all spoke an Arawakan language, so therefore they are all Arawakan. You feel me? So just to answer your question in terms of Barbados, right? All right. And like I said before, a lot of our people in the Caribbean, a lot of our ancestors literally were sent from the United States, vice versa. And a lot of people from the Caribbean was also brought into the United States. So the slave trade per se was literally, what we call intercontinental, so to speak. All right. That's why you cannot find this conclusive records, okay, that you could find of Europeans, whether they are so-called black or so-called pale, what I'm saying, coming into the Americas, going all the way back. They have an unbroken chain that they could trace their ancestry all the way back to Europe. And even the few Africans who came, there are precise records to validate and show that they are Africans. But the majority of our people that did, 95% of us was already here. And the other 5% that includes Black Europeans and some Africans and some Asians. But we were already here in numbers. We are the majority by far. All this was part of paper genocide. Remember, what was the goal of the colonial system? Discover and replace. They told you in the Bible to kill, steal, and destroy. That was it. Nothing else. So the goal was always the promised land. What was the promised land? Canaan. You feel me? So the next live I do, I'm gonna be talking to y'all about showing you that America was and is the firstborn. That's gonna be the next live on YouTube, because like I told y'all, I had to come back on YouTube and show my people love. You're absolutely welcome. Absolutely welcome. All right. So with that being said, make sure y'all check out. Let me show y'all real quick. I want you to take a screenshot of this. All right. Because we are building right now. We have about 70 of us in the Republic. Okay. We have 70 of us in the Republic. So, and we coming together as the collective. We took back the original Constitution and we are making moves. And like I always tell people, we're not here to sell any dreams, any illusions. We're not here to do none of that. And what do I mean by that? We are not here to give you microwave, and overnight remedies. We don't promise that. We don't do that. We know we got a long way to go, but we have set the foundation. So this is the Republic. It's called www.ongwehongwe.org. You guys could screenshot whatever the case is. I'll also take it and put it in the chat. And as you could see, we doing a lot of great work. All right. So that's just us coming together, like I said, as the collective. And just so you know, we are not a tribe. We are a republic government with many tribes, but we are one people. We make that very clear on our website. All right. And we have our matriarchs, you know what I'm saying? They're doing great work as well. You feel me? So this is everything right here. We have our council. This is our head matriarch all the way to my left. All right. But we have a council and everybody's responsibility on here. You dig? So that's what we're doing, man. That's what we're doing. All right. We also have the About Us section. All right. This is our flag right here. We also have the About Us section. We also have our Supreme Court section. So all that, it's already in place. All right. This is the seal for our Supreme Court right here. Okay. So it's really up to us as the people to make this relevant. You feel me? To bring our court to life. Because like I said, everything is already in place. You dig? Okay. Then we have our Ongwe shop. Once you click on that, it takes you to our website with our clothing. Then events. We have an event where one of our chief and chieftainess in Florida, they met with the mayor of Gainesville in Florida. All right. Then we have more right here. We have our private section that's only for the people in the Republic. We have documents, that's just for the Republic. And then we have the Republic ship, all right, where you get the form to inquire and be part of the Republic. All right. So like I said, just wanted to make sure everybody, know about what we are doing. And we're not just talking, we are actually making some moves. We did as the collective. All right. So I'll share that with you guys. Put that in the chat right here. So at least you have it. You could screenshot it, whatever the case is. You did. Just right there. All right. So I'm about to conclude this live, man. I want to thank y'all for being a part of the live. For real, for real, for real. And like I said, the next one I do, it's I'll take you into from the very beginning. And what I mean by that is to show, the most studied scientists and archaeologists all across the world, tell you that the oldest cratons in the world, it's in America. And therefore, America is 330 million years older than Africa. That's what we're going to talk about next. All right, on the next live. All right. So thank you for being a part of the build. It feels good to be back on YouTube doing live again. You know what I mean? Like I give y'all my reason for, just kind of taking a little break, because sometimes you get a little bit discouraged. You know what I mean? When you have been teaching for so long and, you're telling your people like, hey, man, listen, I know what to do. I know what to do. But it's like everything just feel like it's a standstill. Our people are not being proactive enough. So I had to kind of like, step off a little bit. And one of the main reasons is because YouTube shadow banning my information. You know what I'm saying? It's like you send me a statistics telling me I almost have about, from the inception of my YouTube, I have about close to 2 million, viewers. You know what I'm saying? Close to 2 million views. And you're trying to tell me I only have about 29,000 subscribers. And even if that's so, one of my videos could barely get to, 2,000, 2,000 views. Come on, stop it, man. Like, so that just kind of discouraged me, man. So when I heard of TikTok, I didn't want to do it. I always heard of TikTok, but I didn't want to get on TikTok. I was just tired of social media, honestly. I was just tired. So I took a break. And I was just posting on Facebook once in a while, post on, YouTube once in a while in terms of, little posts in the post section, right? Wasn't doing no lives or nothing like that. But then people keep telling me about TikTok. I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it a try. Then I realized TikTok was a little more interactive because, it's like people get the notifications faster for whatever reason. I'm not sure why, but anyway. And I just started, okay, so it's a whole new experience on TikTok and a whole new set of people. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me reach out to those people because my YouTube people, I gave them so much information already. I know they're good. You feel me? But here comes a new set of people on TikTok that never heard my message, never heard me teach. So I was like, all right, cool. Let me start reaching out to people and started teaching on TikTok. But then I was like, okay, nah, I got to come back to YouTube. I can't forget the original. You know what I'm saying? That was there with me from the beginning. So I had to come back home. You did. And that's why I decided to come back on YouTube and start doing lives again. All right. So, like I said, they say out of sight, out of mind. That's not true. You guys were always still in my mind. You did, but I had to go and talk to the masses and reach out to more of the people and be disciples to our ancestors. You feel me? So now I'm doing both, but I'll be on YouTube, a little more often than I took that hiatus. You did? All right, cool. So they love to play with they play with the numbers, man. They play with the numbers for real, for real. All right. But I always say this, right? When the people are ready, the message will appear. So they cannot stop it regardless. All right. I just want to make sure I keep planting the seeds and letting our people know that we already have the home built. It's already in place. We did. We took back the original Constitution and we're making moves. All right. So next live, I don't know when, but I'll be back shortly. I'll be back soon. I want y'all to enjoy the rest of your 24. Continue to be good to each other, man. Continue to love each other, man. Listen, man. Show love, man. And the same thing I always say on TikTok. We ain't got to hate people to be who we are. We don't have to degrade people to be who we are. We don't have to belittle people to be who we are, because what we are doing is we are creating a repetitive cycle, a perpetual cycle of people bullying people. And yes, we have been bullied, but because a lot of our people are waking up into who we truly are, we should not use that as a stepping stone or an excuse to bully other people. We should not do that. You feel me? We should not do that, man. I don't like that. So we got to stay righteous always. We got to have integrity always. Let people talk. We don't have to defend everything. But when people come, if they touch you, that's a different story. Now you got to defend yourself. But let people talk, man. Let them talk. Let's focus on what we need to focus on. Who cares what other people got to say? That's not helping our situation. What's going to help our situation is what we do about our situation. So I'm here about the collective, bringing our people together to stand up and do what needs to be done, because I'm focused on the goal. What's the goal? Winning this war. I'm not focused on individual battles, you know what I'm saying, and thinking we win a battle, then we made it. All of a sudden we home. No, man. A battle is just a battle. In a war, there's many battles. Let's focus on the war. That's it. Because we are at war. And I'm not advocating violence. The reason why I'm saying we are at war is because we are the original people and we are not being recognized as the original people in our own land. So those are acts of war. You feel me? Period. All right. So peace and love, Mr. G1. What the deal? What the deal? What the deal? Said, all right. It says, I just added on the website app to my phone home screen. I will check it. No doubt. That's what's up. That's what's up. All right, so check it out for sure. Like I said, man, it's about 70 of us in the Republic right now, and we're making some good progress. We are putting some things together, and that's what we're doing because we know what it takes. We know we have to come together, but not everybody's going to come together and sing kumbaya, and we don't expect that, right? But we are looking for those of us on the same vibration, the same frequency, so that we know we are equally yoked. We may not agree on everything, but one thing we know for sure that we all could agree on. We have colonizers on our land controlling us. We know that for a fact. And we are not living the American dream, but yet still we are the only Americans. Let that sink in here for a second. So if we could just focus on what we have in common, I'm telling you, we could change this thing literally within a year or two. We could change this around. All right? And that's what we're supposed to do. You feel me? All right, cool. Enjoy the rest of your continuation, and may the righteous ancestors continue to guide and protect you in truth. All right? No doubt. Because like I tell folks, there's only one American, and that's us. Everybody else, United States citizens. There's a difference. And stop calling the United States America. You are doing literally a dishonor. Okay, you are not doing justice to our ancestors. And that's when I hear people talking about America's going to fall. What do you mean America's going to fall? What are you talking? How can the continent fall? Stop putting this curse on our motherland. So I always correct people. They want to get mad. I don't care, man. I don't care. This is my motherland. This is my homeland. I'm going to protect it. So stop casting your spells on my ancestral land. Call it what it is. If you want to talk to the United States or about the United States, talk about the United States, but don't talk about America being the United States is going to fall and this and that, man. I ain't trying to hear that, man. So I always put these things in context. Always. I correct people because I know what spell they're casting. Whether it's intentional or unintentional, it doesn't make a difference to me. Stop calling our ancestral land, you know what I'm saying, I'm the United States. Stop calling the United States America. Don't you realize that the ancestors have a personal vendetta against the United States? But y'all want to call it the United States America? Do you know what you're doing? Our ancestors want us out of the belly of the beast, people. They don't want us caught up in the system. They don't want us in the system. They want us out of the system. Get out of her. They told you, get out of her. It doesn't mean get out the land. No, get out of the system. That's what it meant. Because the more you fall in love with the system, the harder it is to get out. And they'll make sure you don't get out. Even when the movie Get Out came out, I broke it down. Get out. It was a public service announcement. That's what movies are. But we just look at everything as entertainment. Okay? And that's why I also tell these Native Americans, our people are waking up. And trust me, they ain't going back to sleep. This is not a fade. No, this is not a movement. No, it's not. This is us reclaiming our blood right. Okay, trust me, our people ain't going back to sleep because the prophecy has been fulfilled. We were the first. We had to become the last. That happened. Right now, we are at the cusp of the last part of the prophecy to the beginning of the reascension. And that's what's happening right now. That's why you see so many of our people waking up. For all those of you who could go back, way back with me, man, I'm not talking about 7 years. I'm talking about longer than 7 years. How many people was actually talking about we American Indians when I started doing this? But look at where we at right now. So I'm seeing progress. My eye is open. My eye is open. I said that intentionally. Not eyes, but my eye is open. So we're making progress. You feel me? A lot of people just need to be a little bit, fine-tuned, but they're going to get there. But I'm proud of everybody. You feel me? I'm proud of that. Yes. And the ancestors are proud. They're smiling down. Sometimes they get a little mad at us, right? They do. But all that's understandable. You feel me? All right, cool. I'm about to end this live, man. So I'm gonna talk to y'all lineage. One thing I'm gonna say before I get out of here. All right. Let us stop using, and I've been saying this for a while, but I'm gonna say it again. Let us stop using the word to identify ourselves talking about family. Okay. Let me show you why before I go. Etymology of family. Let me show you exactly what I mean by that. Let me go ahead and share my screen. See, I like putting things in perspective for you so that you cannot say you didn't know. If you choose to suffer, then that's on you. But I'm here to teach you. So this is why we should stop using family to identify ourselves. Okay? See what family means? The etymology of family? Servants of a household. Servants of a household. Family, servants, domestic, collectively. Okay? When you say you have a family, it means you are domesticated. Thus, also members of a household. Okay? You are servants of an estate, property, the household, including relatives and servants. Abstract. Further down, servant, slave, which is what? Of unknown origin. So family it ties to slave and servant. So stop calling your lineage family. Okay? Now, let us go look at lineage. Although you might see the word family in there as well, but the initial, okay? Lineage. Neage. Hold on for a second. Give me a second here. All right, give me a second. I gotta go back here and let me just pull that up. Etymology of lineage. Here we go. All right. So when you say you have a family, it means you have a family of servants, slaves. That's what it means. But this is lineage, okay? Lineage, right here. Line of descent, an ancestor. Okay? You are extracted from your ancestors, from your line of the people you came from. Literally, a string line thread. So now you're connecting yourself back to your ancestors when you say lineage. All right. That's why you hear me always say, all right, lineage, and you don't hear me say family. Why do you think? If lineage means your bloodline and family means a household of slave, why don't they have a lineage court? Why do they have a family court? Because they're telling you that your house is a house of slaves, and that's where the slaves go to family court. Slaves coming to the court. Now, that may go over some heads, but think about what I just said. Family means a household of slaves. That's why they have family court, because they're dealing with slaves. You feel me? The court for the slaves. But why didn't they call it a lineage court? Because that's what ties you to your bloodline. A string. You dig? You dig? So words are very important, my people. Very, very important. So when you say family, it also ties into what's called loco parenti or parentis. Okay? Loco parentis. All right? So loco parentis is a legalist term that means in the place of a parent. So whenever you say you have a family, okay? When you say you have a family, you are literally saying, once again, you have a household of slave. But also, when you put your sons and daughters in their school, that's why they're called children, because that's not another legalist term. You feel me? Not son or daughter. Sons and daughters are your property. Children is a shared custody, because when you look at the birth certificate, as per Minnesota Rule 220, the names on the birth certificate are the owners of that name. So the state have their seal, and that's why it says the state of. So they are actually a holder in due course. So they own that as well. So in loco parentis, okay, it means in the place of a parents, in a legal concept where an individual or what, or an institution assumes parental duties for what? A child, granting them authority for the care, supervision, and the discipline without formal adoption, people. So that's why teachers could make certain decisions, because why? You put your son and daughter in the school as children, then and local parenti kick in, because they're dealing with a household of slaves. And like I said, all I could do is teach y'all. You do what you want with the information. All right? That's it. You do what you want with it. But I'm just going to give you the facts. Okay? Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. You did. So why you think they're... So that's why CPS, ACS, and CPS, ACS, ABC, DPE, all these acronyms could come take your children. Because that's what you call them. Children, and you have a family. You did. But when you have a lineage and you have sons and daughters, you are a man and you are a woman with a lineage, and you have sons and daughters, then it becomes something different. That is not legalese. That's why they want to tie you with all this legalese. They want to call your sons and daughters kids. Is that your kid? A kid is a damn goat. So if you're calling your child, your child, like they say, a kid, what are you saying? That your son or a daughter is a goat. Oh, you guys are absolutely welcome. So they treat them that way. From year high, your son or your daughter, is a baby, right? And you want to put them to bed. You put them in a what? A crib. Let me show you the etymology of a crib. Listen, man. I don't know, man. I don't know. Etymology of crib. Let's look it up. I don't want people to think I'm making things up. I don't want y'all to think I'm making things up. Okay? I don't want y'all to think I'm making this up. You did. Let me go show you. That's how important words are. Very, very important. Here we go. Origin and history of crib. Let's read. Reading is fun for the mental. I'm back, YouTube. The chief is back. Let's go. Crib. What does it say? Crib. A manger of a cattle stable, a fodder, a bin, in cow sheds, a field. Okay? A kleba, a manger. That's why they told you Jesus was born what? In a manger, in a crib. Because he was born what? In his lower self, in his animal nature. It is all allegory. It wasn't a real man. They're telling you that the lower self is literally have to come from the lower self and ascend into the higher self. And the lower self must be crucified to ascend into the higher self, which is the Christ. It's an allegory, people. So now you're literally starting your young ones off by saying that they're in cribs. Okay, they're in cribs, a cow shed, a bin, a field, a manger, and then you're calling them a kid, a goat, goes right along with crib. And then what you think is happening? You are casting those spells on your sons and daughters. And then the system made you a parent. You are paying rent for your sons and daughters. You are being taxed for your sons and daughters. That's what parent means. Okay? You are paying rent. You're not a mother or father. You are paying rent. And guess who has more authority than you? A God parent? Because check this out. You gave birth to the child as the mother, and you and the father, that's your son or daughter, right? So why aren't you the God? Why aren't you the God parent? Because they came from you, right? Why is somebody else the God parent? Just certain things to think about. That's how the system is designed. Okay? That's how it's designed. And that's why they could come take their children because they are part owners and you signed the contract when you accepted the birth certificate and took the number. But that's a whole different lesson. We're not going to get into that right now. I know some people may not see the significance of all of this, and it's okay. Whether it's now or when they hear the replay, don't matter. Because people are going to take this lightly. That's why you have the Jubilee. Because the Pope have to open up the windows of the Vatican in certain rooms. Diagnosis. Open up the window and free some of the souls. Let them out. Let them restore themselves. If you don't do that, then it's closed. Go back into isolation, misery, devastation, self-destruction. And like I told y'all before, wait till after January 6th. After January 6th, when that current Jubilee is over, watch what's going to happen. And y'all going to say, man, Chief has always been on point. All right. Anyway. You're absolutely correct, Zazie. But we just got to keep pushing. What can we do, right? We just got to keep pushing. And a lot of people have asked me, well, Chief, if you know all of this, right, why are you still here? Because honestly, it's not my will, but it's the will of my ancestors. That's the best answer I could give you. It is not my will, but their will. You feel me? That's what they want me to do. That's what they brought me here to do, to be that voice. You feel me? To be the one to put these things in place, to restore our people. So I'm just being obedient. And that's the honest truth. Ain't nothing else I could tell you. You feel me? That's just what it is. All right? So that's the reason why. That's it. All right? So, man, thank y'all, man. Because like I said, I love my people and I'll never give up on my people regardless of what. All right? So we got work to do. Let's continue to do this work. Let's continue to build and let's do what we got to do. All right? No doubt. Genesis 2 evaluation is on. Is what you said. What? Hold on for a second. Let me see if I could see what. Let me see. Said Genesis 2 evaluation is just have. Yeah, it's a must have for sure. All right. And gratitude, man. You see, I'm so selfless. I don't really focus on me per se. I don't even promote my stuff like that, right? But anyway, just so y'all know, go to the website myneji.com. Let me show y'all real quick. Thank you for mentioning that, Mr. G1. I go to myneji.com. And for those of you who don't have the book, Genesis to Reevaluation, man, this is a must-have. All right. If you go on the website, right now, it's the book was $36 plus shipping and handling, like $54. I'm literally giving away the book right now for only $25, no shipping and handling. I'm paying for the shipping. Literally, I'm giving away the book for free. All right. So go to myneji.com. Take a screenshot, whatever the case is, whatever you got to do. And get the book right here, Genesis to Reevaluation. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm also going to read from the book. So like I said, I'm back on YouTube. So I'm going to be reading from the book, doing lives reading from the book. You dig? So we got, like I said, man, we got things to do. We got work to do. I've shown TikTok enough love. So I got to come back to, the day ones. You know what I'm saying? I got to come back to the day ones and show them some love. You dig? All right, cool. And also, just so you know, we got our pecan candy. We got the best tasting pecan candy in the world. Y'all just don't know what I'm talking about. Take a screenshot of that because the ancestors gave us that as well. All right. So we got the best. We got the original and we got the lemon flavor. The best pecan candy in the world, guaranteed. Guaranteed. So when we go to the product page, pecancandy.com or just pecan.com. All right. Let me just close that out right here. We have the original and we have the lemon. Okay. So boom. Oh, no doubt, Mr. G1. I'm gonna start reading from Genesis to Reevaluation. And I'm gonna, do like, Genesis to Reevaluation part 1, part 2, part 3. And then I'm gonna go through the whole series and break everything down the same way I broke it down on TikTok. But I'm gonna come back, like I said, to my day ones, man, and I'm gonna show them some love. All right. So just so y'all know, I promise you, you will never taste any pecan candy like that. We have the original and we have the lemon. The ancestors gave us that. And what me and my brother decided is this: we giving 10% back of the proceeds back to the republic. So we have our own way of creating our generational wealth within the republic. You see what I'm saying? Because as per on drip, indigenous people have a right to create their own political, economical structures. So we are definitely doing that with the pecan candy. You know what I'm saying? That's why I tell people, man, listen, let's build that republic and make this thing happen. All right? No doubt. So have yourself a blissful continuation. I'm out of here. So I can't stop eating it. I just received my second order. All right, man. Gratitude. That's what's up. That's what's up. That's what's up. Man, listen, I love y'all and we'll talk soon. All right? One love.